Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and this particular Moon Lambo Hot Jam is going to be particularly fun for a number of reasons, frankly. So you remember, just to start, remember when the news of Ripple intending to launch a stablecoin broke somewhere in the neighborhood of about half a year ago? There were all sorts of people flipping out, oh my god, Ripple's abandoning XRP, this and that, and then I came out right away and I just was firm in my stance, and it's been validated now. I'm going to show you why. That's one of the reasons this is going to be fun, but there are others. But I explained, no, this is very, very good for XRP. If this stablecoin, Ripple stablecoin with the ticker symbol we now know is RLUSD, if it is indeed successful, this is going to be incredible for XRP. It'll literally help to ensure the long-term viability and success of XRP. And, you know, ultimately price follows value, right? So don't you think that kind of matters? So that's great. But anyway, David Schwartz, one of the creators of XRP and the XRP ledger itself, he has confirmed that the RLUSD stablecoin absolutely is fantastic for XRP. It wasn't just my, I mean, fine, it was my opinion, but I backed it with real data, and David Schwartz is saying, he's arguing a couple of the same points that I made half a year ago. And so he may very well have talked about this before. I just hadn't seen him kind of word it quite so bluntly like this, and like, no, here's RLUSD, here's why this is good for XRP, right? And then there's also this headline. This one's really fun too. I really like this. From the Crypto Basic, ex-Ripple director explains why XRP is better than Bitcoin. I just love. Now there's a headline that you sure as hell are not going to see on CoinDesk, aka FUD Desk. You're not going to see it on Cointelegraph. You're not going to see it on AMB Crypto. You're not going to see it from News BTC, and I could go on, obviously. But you do see it here on the Crypto Basic. And this is fun because what they're citing here, and I watched this whole debate, but there's a debate between a Bitcoin maximalist named Da Vinci Jeremy, I believe that's what he goes by, and he's been in crypto forever, and also Matt Hamilton, who has also been in crypto just about forever. He's been here for a long time. As it turns out, Matt Hamilton, very knowledgeable, including from a developer standpoint, very well versed. And then you have Da Vinci Jeremy, who, although he's been here a long time, could stand to learn a few more facts before fudding XRP, which, by the way, he's been fudding XRP for basically its entire existence. Just disastrously long, outright lies about XRP, you know, being frozen, this and that, and you can create more. He said all the lies. He just said it all. Whether he believed it or not, I don't know. But it's bad either way. So, like, either he believed it and then he's just like a damn fool, or he didn't believe it, in which case, like, why are you lying? Like, it's bad for him. It's bad either way. You know what I'm saying? But take a look at this. And there's a headline, you today was covering this. Ripple CTO dispels XRP community doubts on RLUSD stablecoin. And so somebody wrote to David Schwartz, named Real Degen XRP holder, and wrote the following. No more games, Schwartz. Tell me, will RLUSD be a net positive to XRP, even though it can do 70% or more of what XRP was made to do? You know, cross-border payments? I hear what you and Brad are saying, but truthfully, I feel forked. Afterthoughts, not always great thing in programming. Let's pause to say here. You know, if you're feeling forked, as you say here, maybe you might be, and I would say this respectfully, you might be, you know, ill-advised to be placing your expectations on XRP longevity and price performance specifically on Ripple. As it turns out, thankfully, as I was speaking literally my very last video about at length, there are a lot of reasons that XRP has been in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire freaking existence. There's a vibrant ecosystem. Ripple, fine, maybe they're the most well-known in terms of development activity. Fine, that's fair. But they're not driving price. Provably, they're not driving price. We have over a decade of data showing that's the case at this point here. And so whatever Ripple's doing with XRP to us in the end, it's not really going to matter. I'm glad they're here. I think they're a force for, it's very clear they're a force for good within the XRP ecosystem. And so they're a piece of it. And so, I mean, if you look at it on the whole, yes, there's this huge developer, you know, environment. Sure. So Ripple matters in that sense, but they're not driving price or something like that. But set that aside, the stablecoin is literally good for XRP. You better want this thing to be broadly adopted, because there are different use cases for a stablecoin, which is, of course, highly centralized versus the attributes that a decentralized cryptocurrency like XRP has, with no counterparty risk, right? That's kind of the point of a decentralized cryptocurrency, right? Different from a stablecoin, fundamentally. And you'd use each coin for different use cases depending on exactly what the hell you're trying to do, and if there's regulatory concerns for this or that. So anyway, here's what David Schwartz wrote, though. Only XRP can be used to pay transaction fees on XRP Ledger. Everyone who transacts must have XRP to pay those fees. XRP is the only asset that every account can hold that has no counterparty or jurisdiction and cannot be frozen or clawed back. XRP has structural advantages on XRP Ledger due to features like auto-bridging. But if a stablecoin can do most of what XRP does better than XRP can, then XRP will lose to one or more stablecoins no matter what happens with RLUSD. Yeah, so that's true. So even if XRP, quote unquote, loses to the stablecoin for specific use cases, there will be use cases where if it matters that there's no counterparty risk and you have a decentralized cryptocurrency, broadly speaking, if you just don't want to have counterparty risk when it comes to payment, you don't want somebody to be able to control what you can do with your coin, well, then you got XRP. And that is fundamentally something that people in crypto care about. Period, right? They absolutely do. But key takeaway, all right, in order for the stablecoin to exist on the XRP ledger specifically, XRP is required. It's literally required to be created. XRP is also literally, for every transaction, required. So even if it's only a small amount of XRP that gets burnt per transaction, that doesn't matter. If you're jumping into crypto for the first time and you want to get broad exposure, you want to diversify, if you know that there's a broadly adopted stablecoin, RLUSD, if it gets to that point, and I'm optimistic, don't you think that if you know that XRP makes that possible, you might be thinking, wow, I guess that XRP thing's probably going to be around for a while. And might you diversify further into XRP? I think that would be a factor for some people, don't you? I sure as hell do. Absolutely. Then there's also this, somebody named XRP and HBAR European NFA 589. Will you consider increased fees? Increase the 10 XRP minimum amount required to open a wallet. And I was admittedly surprised to see that. Unless somebody's new, I mean, I think most people are aware, and no insult, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I just assume most people at this point understand that there's a decentralized ecosystem that, there's validators that vote on changes, in terms of what the reserve amount would be for XRP, so on and so forth. So, of course, if somebody's new, I wouldn't expect them necessarily to know that. But anyway, here's what David Schwartz said. He says, it's not up to me. It's a consensus decision. But I have personally never felt that we should use fees to try to increase XRP's scarcity. In my opinion, the ledger belongs to, and should serve, those who use it, not those who hold XRP for passive gain. But smart contracts may result in transaction fees going up anyway. Yeah, and so he's concerned about functionality, but see, that's the neat thing about this. Once you get that flywheel going, people, if you're talking about the functionality, and as a result, you get developers who are interested in building stuff, all that does is attract more people like, for instance, myself, and maybe you listening even. You're like, oh, this thing's useful, utility matters, it's probably going to be here for the long haul, right? And so then ultimately what happens? Well, I believe that price will follow value. So even if it takes time, and even if the market doesn't sufficiently appreciate the degree to which XRP has been successfully adopted and is functionally useful literally every single day, people are going to find out. I still firmly believe that is indeed the case. And then this headline, ex-Ripple director explains why XRP is better than Bitcoin. I really enjoyed reading through this one, so check this out. Former Ripple director Matt Hamilton believes XRP is better than Bitcoin. And folks, arguably, Bitcoin is the worst cryptocurrency that there is from a technological perspective. It is the least advanced. And I don't say that to be, offensive towards the delicate sensibilities of the toxic Bitcoin maximalist. I say it because it's freaking true. It's the first cryptocurrency, and I hold it, and I'm still optimistic about it for a number of reasons. But let's be real here, because it was the first, it's not surprising that it's the least advanced. I still appreciate it, and I'm glad it came around, or else we wouldn't have XRP or any other cryptocurrency. And it turns out that humans value that first mover advantage, because like adoption actually, it really does matter. Like when something becomes a standard technologically, it is hard to supplant. Whatever that technology is, you need something that is some multiplier better if you're going to even think about supplanting it. And so in the case of Bitcoin, since it was the first mover, there you go. Now it can't do much. You know, you got store of value, but there you go. I won't delve further into that. That's always a fun topic of conversation. I'll pretty much leave that there for the purposes of this video because it's too far outside the scope here. But it's this discussion between these two, this debate, truly fascinating. It went on for like an hour and 10 minutes or something like that. I enjoyed listening to the whole thing. Honestly, I was very surprised that it happened because as far as Da Vinci Jeremy, are you guys familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect? Because Da Vinci Jeremy in this exchange here, but certainly it applies in this exchange, but Da Vinci Jeremy, he's my new favorite example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. So here it is. I just Googled it so I could show you a chart so you can visually see what it is and how it's described. So here you go. This is from Google. The Dunning-Kruger effect occurs when a person's lack of knowledge and skill in a certain area causes them to overestimate their own competence. Okay, and so he knows just enough to think he knows a lot, but it turns out he's not some sort of wizard, and he knows nowhere near as much as someone like Matt Hamilton, who is like, he's like been a software engineer in his life. Like he used to work at IBM on top of that, and then he worked at Ripple, and he's done all sorts of stuff here. That's a guy that actually knows stuff, including from the developer side. And not that you have to necessarily be on the developer side to have reasonable opinions in the world of crypto. I'm not making that claim. You can use the internet without knowing how TCP/IP works. So no, I'm not making that argument. Although I will say it certainly doesn't hurt. And he was able to come at things with a perspective that I don't think Da Vinci Jeremy had ever heard. And he's been in the world of crypto, I'm sure, over a decade at this point. And good for him. He made a bunch of money apparently, early investing in Bitcoin, so on and so forth. Good for him. That's fine here. But as indicated on the chart, you can see as you start to learn some stuff, you think that you know a ton when you're early on in your journey, but you're actually pretty ignorant because you just started. And so you can have peak confidence when it's not necessarily deserved. Now, in the case of Da Vinci Jeremy, yes, he's been here for a long period of time, but there are certain things in which he just was not progressing. I mean, even up until recently, before this debate, even recently he was making claims about how you could create more XRP and how it could be frozen. Just straight up lies. Provably the case that these are just straight up lies. But maybe he really, I'm leaning towards he wasn't trying to. I think he really just didn't know, but he thought he knew, and he was saying this to his massive following. He has a ton of followers, right? So that's why I say, like, he's my new favorite example, just for funsies, of the Dunning-Kruger effect. A very confident individual, but is it deserved confidence? I wouldn't say that. I'm not gonna. You can say I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that though. And one of my favorite things, by the way, this is so hilarious. He was saying something like, XRP. He despises it because it's a coin that it helps to support, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but this is pretty much what he was arguing. It helps to prop up the fraud that is legacy banking. That's pretty much his argument. He says that XRP is doing that. It's propping up the fraud of legacy banking. And so I'm sure that many of us here are not exactly thrilled with banks. I'm probably preaching to the choir. And I'm not saying they have to go away. Like, I don't despise them as much as Matt Hamilton or Da Vinci Jeremy. Although the critiques that they pointed out, like, yeah, I've known about those for years, and I certainly agree. I don't want to go down that conversation path much in this video, although that's fun to talk about as well. But as far as XRP, helping to support the fraudulent banking system, as he was calling it effectively, and he did use the word fraud. That's just completely absurd. Like, what does he not understand here? If there's a decentralized cryptocurrency, then you can have people use it for whatever they want, even if it's use cases that you don't approve of. How does he not get this? And so Matt Hamilton, he actually brought up something I was hoping he'd bring up. He brought up, because, mind you, Ripple is positioning XRP as a bridge currency, and so I think that's why Da Vinci Jeremy has this problem. in the first place. But then Matt Hamilton brought up Strike. Jack Mallers, who is a Bitcoin maximalist, founded this company Strike, and they're basically trying to do the same thing that Ripple started doing a decade ago, and so they're way behind. But instead of using XRP, which is technologically sufficient on layer 1, Jack Mallers, because of his Bitcoin maximalism, decided to use less sophisticated and less fitting technology. He decided to use Bitcoin. That's what he decided to use. And then he slapped that bitch Lightning Network right on top of that. You got your layer 2, and he thought that that was going to work real well. Maybe it will one day. Lightning isn't exactly perfect, let's say, not even close. But you see, he's been shown examples in recent years anyway, where there's real transactions, and from what I've seen, they're all very small, because you know, I haven't seen large transactions on the Lightning Network. It doesn't seem to be capable of that, and there are all sorts of downsides to it too, which is it's ridiculous he chose this technology. But anyway, so Jack Mallers is using Bitcoin as a bridge currency. And this is, mind you, this is I'm pulling from memory from a couple years ago. So if they change something, then fine. But they were using Bitcoin as a bridge currency with Lightning smacked right on top of that, so that you've got some speed. And then it would output to, if memory serves, Tether actually. So it wasn't quite the same as what Ripple was doing. And maybe there was an option to have that converted into a fiat currency, and then it would end up in the user's bank account. But my recollection anyway is that it goes to Tether. So you guys can look it up if you want to fact check, whatever, that's fine. I'm just telling you what my recollection is. But Bitcoin actually was being used as the bridge currency, and then Ripple was doing the same thing, has been for a decade now, except for they're using XRP as the bridge currency. And so Da Vinci Jeremy here says that, XRP, it's helping to prop up the fraud, and that's the problem with XRP, and that's why he hates it so much. And so then when and I brought this up before too, that Bitcoin is being used for this. I've been screaming this for years. And so to see Matt Hamilton bring up this point to Da Vinci's face during this debate, this is delightful. I'm so glad that he did that. And still, what do you think Da Vinci had to say? What do you think this maximalist had to say? He just wormed his way out of it. He would not acknowledge it. It's Bitcoin is decentralized. XRP is decentralized. Jack Mallers doing the same thing that Ripple's doing, but with a different coin. It's the same frickin' thing. So if XRP is helping the fraudulent banking system, as he called it, then Bitcoin is helping the fraudulent banking system. Furthermore, Bitcoin has actually been adopted by banks and legacy finance, broadly speaking. So if one of them is a banker's coin, it sure as hell is Bitcoin and not XRP. My God. And so that's why I said this is the Dunning-Kruger effect. Like undeserved confidence, and he doesn't know what he doesn't know, but man, he feels confident, and man, he's got some strong opinions. This is what I'm talking about. Like, he had never been, like, this idea had never entered his brain before. And so I don't know if he thought about it anymore after the debate ended, but this did not go well for him. This debate did not go well for Da Vinci Jeremy. But still, he wormed his way out of it. He would never admit that this applies to Bitcoin as well, even though Matt Hamilton brought it up to him multiple times. He just wouldn't admit it. And then Matt Hamilton would throw it right back on him, and he just wouldn't answer. It's like a politician that clearly is saying stuff, like a lot of stuff coming out of the face hole word-wise, but then it's not answering the question, and then the interviewer's like, but no, but the question was, it's that type of thing. That's what happened with Da Vinci Jeremy here. Just dodging on that. Now, to his credit, though, he did finally acknowledge, because he was on the spot, that XRP cannot be frozen, and also that you cannot print new XRP. So he acknowledged those things. So, baby steps. We're still getting there. But he will not acknowledge the very clear truth, which is that XRP is purely decentralized, and when you have a decentralized system, you can't block out who's using it. You can't just stop Ripple from using it, even if you don't like what they're doing. You can't stop Jack Mallers from using Bitcoin because it's decentralized. And if you could stop, then it's not decentralized, and that rules that just completely ruins the entire purpose of crypto in the first place. If you can block people from participating. Well, who's doing that then? And why do they have the power? And then couldn't they block you? It's the antithesis of what crypto is meant to be. How does he not get this? Dunning-Kruger effect, folks. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect. It was really entertaining, though. So anyway, in a recent interview on Mr. M podcast, the ex-Ripple director focused on the scalability and practicality features of both cryptocurrencies. According to him, XRP is well suited for large-scale use. However, he could not say the same for Bitcoin, noting that its limited scalability is the premier asset's major problem. Hamilton contended that the Bitcoin network processes 7 to 10 transactions per second, making it unsuitable for global use. Based on this limitation, Hamilton contended that the global population can only conduct 2 transactions in their lifetime on Bitcoin. Notably, he argued that Bitcoin requires additional systems like Layer 2s or custodial networks to boost its scalability. While these systems might boost Bitcoin's scalability, Hamilton stated they could undermine its core principles. Unlike the Bitcoin network, the XRP ledger is designed to handle more transactions per second. And let me go a little bit lower here. In addition, the former director of Ripple highlighted Bitcoin's high transaction fee as another issue associated with cryptocurrency. Yeah, this is another thing brought up in the debate. Da Vinci Jeremy, and again, illustrating the Dunning-Kruger effect, like this undeserved confidence when he's actually ignorant. He was stating that you can't get your XRP back. Or cost XRP to start an account and then like it's just gone forever, like that's just some sort of fee. That's actually not true. So there's a small amount that would still be burnt if you delete your account, but you can get the vast quantity of your reserve back. And that's absolutely the case. He didn't know that though. And also, and I pointed this out in the past, and I'm glad Matt Hamilton did too. I've been saying this for years, and especially specifically actually because Da Vinci Jeremy was tweeting about this. And so I shared it on my channel. I was like, this freaking guy. So he's saying that XRP is unreasonable because there's a reserve fee, which he was just calling a cost to start the account, which wasn't accurate. But I was like, what do you think one Bitcoin transaction costs? It's like higher than that, especially if there's notable congestion on the Bitcoin blockchain on layer 1. It's going to cost you way like when I jumped into crypto in 2017. I remember that Bitcoin transactions were over $50. And you're telling me that this tiny reserve of 10 XRP, that's going to be the thing that prevents adoption? Especially, and then factor in, of course, validators can change that as that becomes too high a dollar value. Like you can change that. You can change it to 8 or 6 or 5 or whatever the hell. It's just completely absurd. It's just like, that's the barrier to entry. So you have that reserve, which you can mostly get back, and then basically free transactions, but that's somehow worse than Bitcoin being costly and slow? What? Dunning-Kruger effect. It's Dunning-Kruger right here. This is my new favorite example. Anyway, Peace continues. According to the former Ripple exec, Bitcoin's transaction fees are high and will continue to rise in the future as mining subsidies disappear. Consequently, he speculated that Bitcoin might eventually become a cryptocurrency used by only banks and wealthy investors. Quote, the everyday person is just not going to be able to transact on Bitcoin, end quote. That's what Hamilton said. And then the contrary notes that XRP transactions are 0.0002 typically, so that's awesome. And then he goes on to cite, XRP obviously can't be frozen, so not worth reading that. I've already covered it. But yeah, it was a fantastic interview. It's just, my God. Look, nobody has to be some sort of expert to be a voice in the world of crypto. I don't claim to be an expert, but here's the thing, and this is where I would encourage people to think about the way that they approach and to speak to others in the space. If you don't know something and you haven't researched it, don't make claims. If somebody asserts something and you hear that, then think, oh, if this is a trusted individual, perhaps it's true, but let me go verify for myself. Stuff like that. That's fine. You don't have to be an expert to do anything in this space. He's running a YouTube channel too. Good for him. He's found a lot of success. He's got a big YouTube channel in crypto. And I mean that. Good for him. That's not easy to do. And you have to really have a genuine interest to year after year after year, keep that up and keep putting out content. So I respect that for sure. But I would just encourage anybody to just acknowledge who you are and where your actual knowledge is in the space. Which is why I've always been open. Like, I'm just a dude on the internet. I'm no more special than anybody listening right now. I happen to have a YouTube channel, and I appreciate the support here. I'm not some sort of wizard. I'm not a developer. I'm not coding stuff. I don't know everything. There's all sorts of stuff I don't know. But the difference is, if I don't know something, I'm going to say I don't know, and I'm not going to make ridiculous assertions about stuff that I haven't verified for myself. And if I do make a mistake and I'm caught, I'm going to say it. But his lies, or if they're not lies, I mean, maybe I'm actually more inclined to give him the benefit of the doubt. He just went with it. He just assumed all these lies were true. You just have to verify stuff for yourself. You've got to put the asterisks out there, because otherwise you're doing a disservice to anybody that's following you. It's okay to be wrong about stuff, like that's fine, but look at the way in which he approached it. That's why I'm critiquing him, because he went for literally years, and people, including me, responding to him, saying, no, that's literally not true. Here's why. Here's source to prove it. And then you just keep saying it. And so maybe he didn't see it, or maybe he just thought that XRP holders were like, I can't get in his head. I don't know. I guess maybe I'll be nice and give him the benefit of the doubt here. But that's still the wrong approach. Just be real about who you are and your knowledge about things. You don't, as it turns out, you don't have to know everything. Your followers don't expect that from you. That's not even reasonable. You'd have an unreasonable follower if they expect you to just know everything. But just be real about your actual knowledge base about stuff, and people are going to trust you then. And it turns out people actually value that. I know I sure as hell do. I don't want people in my life that I don't think I can trust. That's important here. And so that's why I look at all this, I look at the Dunning-Kruger effect, and I'm just like, my God, he absolutely fits that. He absolutely does. Don't be like Da Vinci Jeremy, everybody, in that regard anyway. Oh man, it was a really enjoyable video. I was not convinced it was going to happen. I thought for sure, like once he found out who Matt Hamilton was and started looking into things, and if he did any amount of research beforehand, he'd be like, oh wow, I'm out of my depths here. And he was clearly out of his depths. He said all sorts of factual inaccuracies. Oh my God, that debate was really something. He was just all over the place. Clearly there's certain key issues that he hadn't even properly thought through, including like the nature of decentralized systems. Like, how has he not thought about that? The nature of decentralized systems. If anybody can do something with it, and if somebody's doing something with it that you don't like, that doesn't mean that it's supporting a fraud. Like, how has he not thought through that even? Then it's the nature of decentralized systems. Oh man, what a debate. What a debate. I really enjoyed it though. And Matt Hamilton, my God, he was the one. He was the right pick there. I'm glad that he did this, and he did it was just such a professional job, just knocking everything out of the park. He really did a fantastic job. But he's got actual knowledge. So there you go. It's not surprising, and I knew that wouldn't go well for Da Vinci if it were to happen, which is in part why I was like, is he going to do this? And that's why, going into the debate, he did acknowledge, he's like, so he didn't argue that in this debate, he didn't argue that XRP could be frozen. He's like, now, could you clarify, can XRP be frozen? And then Matt explained why the answer is no. He's like, okay, I didn't know that. After all these years of you lying about it, or if you're not lying, just being completely ignorant, then you finally looked it up before this debate. You finally did it. And you're like, oh, let me ask you a question. You already, if you're asking that question, you already knew the frickin' answer because you finally looked it up after all of these years. Oh man, just burned my biscuits. Not actually. I mean, I had fun listening to it. And he does seem like a nice guy. Like, I don't hate the guy. It's like, oh, it makes, like, some of the stuff he said over the years, it makes you want to pull your hair out. That's all. It's just absurd. That's all. Oh, you guys, let me know what you think, especially if you watch that. If you watch that debate, let me know what you think. But I'll go ahead and wrap up here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.